Hello, everybody, and welcome. All thanks to LD Mobile. This is NBL Overtime. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. A lot to get through. Tommy Greer is going to join us. Check in from Southeast Melbourne, Phoenix. We'll look at their depth chart, what they need, and of course, their crosstown rivals, Melbourne United, as well. Plenty of signings going on as we gear up. Still a little unsure as when it'll exactly start, but NBL 21 is getting closer. That we do know. Liam Santamaria, hello to you.
Hello, ready to go?
Homicide, hello to you. And of course, you've been a recruiting man for a while. So Tommy Greer joining us. I'm assuming you're going to have something for him.
Definitely got a name for Tommy Greer, and I think he's going to like it.
Oh, there we go. Can't wait for that. He's around 10 minutes away. But we will start with the Hawks, of course, have been an off-season drama, intrigue-filled team. We've all looked at, we've all watched that. And we got the idea with Daniel Gruder with the ACL that a replacement was coming, an Australian replacement. It's AJ Ogilvy announced today, 1-year deal. Continue to stay in a Hawks jersey. We'll start with you, Liam, nbl.com.au to get the deepest analytical look at it. Your thoughts?
As I wrote today, it's a sensible signing. Mm-hmm. It's not a needle mover in any way, shape, or form, but this is what they needed to balance out their roster. Another big body in that front court to work with Bairstow and Sam Froling. I like it. I mean, we know AJ Ogilvy he's been down for 2 or 3 years now. Go back a little bit further, he's an all-NBL first-team guy. He was like top 5 in MVP voting, and the challenge will be to try to tap into that. Now, he's 32 now. It's probably not, we've seen the best of AJ Ogilvy in the NBL, I think, but as we spoke about and debated about a month or a month and a half ago, I think he can still provide valuable minutes. If you put him in the right role, you keep the expectations in check. And I think for me, that's a 15-minute a game backup role. I would start Sam Froling over him. He's the future. And but in that role, I think AJ Ogilvy is a very common sense, good re-signing for the Hawks.
I agree. I think that is a common sense signing when you're looking at getting an extra body in and a 15-minute role player. So, I mean, that is a common sense signing.
I think you both touched on it there. I actually like AJ Ogilvy. He's no longer, we have seen the best of AJ Ogilvy, as you touched on, Liam. He's no longer that guy that you need to be able to stand up and give you a double-double or 15 and 12, whatever it might be, to win games. This is a dramatically changed Hawks roster we're going to see in NBL 21. And I think it suits him. 12, 15 minutes. We'll see games where he comes in and has a huge impact and helps the Hawks win games. And we'll see games where he'll come in for spot minutes and play the role that you just touched on there, to be able to give Froling and to give Bairstow the support. So I think it's a really good opportunity for him to continue to play high-level ball without having the onus of being that superstar all-NBL first team on his back.
And if that's the role, if that's the expectations, then there's the potential for high reward. Because if you can get him going, if you can tap into the guy he was 3 or 4 years ago to some extent, then you've got a real impact guy coming off the bench. And when you look around the league, you look at a guy like Nate Jae'Sean, for instance, for the Taipans, you need to have somebody who can come in and handle his business in that role. And I like having a veteran guy in that spot. I like Jae'Sean as a backup. I like Majuk as a backup for Perth. And you start the kind of younger guy. And Sam Froling's ready to grab that opportunity and run with it. As you alluded to there, Bairstow can play some minutes as an undersized 5, and Ogilvy kind of balance out that front court nicely.
No doubt we will see him have a double-double 3 or 4 times of the year and talk about the fact how big he was in a particular game. We know he's got it in him, just not each and every game has been needed in the past. All right, from one veteran who's big for the Hawks to another one. Dan Kickert re-signs at Sydney. I don't think this has been an overly huge surprise. We'll start with you, Homicide, because Sydney have had a big couple of weeks. Casper last week, now Dan Kickert, as they start to bring back the band.
Mr. 50, 40, 90 is back. Super efficient. The veteran. He's been in the game, 14 years? About to be 15 years, if I'm correct. So, that just goes to show you durability, reliability, and efficiency. So that's a really good sign. You know what he's going to give you. And why not bring him back if he wants to come back?
For sure. Agree. He's really unique in this. He's unique across the whole world at the pro level. But especially in this league, the best three-point shooter in the competition, absolute lights out, 50%. Incredible. And he's done that a number of seasons.
Yeah.
At the 5 spot. Mm-hmm. Makes it so hard to guard when he's out there on the floor. You put him in pick and rolls with Casper Ware or Sean Bruce, it has to be a switch. There's really no other coverage that works in that situation. You can't deep drop on that because Kickert gets open on the pop and it's money. It's down. You can't trap. You can't hard show. You can't flat show. It's got to be a switch. And if it's a switch, well, Casper Ware backs that thing up and goes to work on whoever just landed on him. So I feel like they leveraged Kickert's shooting really well last year. I think they could go to another level with that when he's out there on the floor. Especially, I felt like in the playoffs against Perth, I don't think they maximized that quite enough because he is a scheme bender. So hard to guard. And when you couple that with the fact that Will Weaver put him in the best position to succeed at the defensive end that we've seen of him ever in the NBL, he's just a perfect kind of match within that system and that coach.
We waited a little while, Homicide, for the Kings to start to warm up. They've done it well in the last couple of weeks, and we look forward to whatever comes over the next month or two. All right. Yes. I know, Liam, you got something or not?
I just want to mention Didi Louzada.
Go on.
My understanding is I've been confident the whole way along throughout this offseason. My understanding is that's getting more and more a sure thing that he's going to be back with the Kings, which is super exciting, massive for that roster. And it's going to, I mean, if that becomes official, that happens, how fun is it going to be to see him 1 year on, another year of development, and the impact he can have in the purple and gold?
Well, that'll hype you up, Homicide.
That'll be huge. You know, I'm a huge fan of Didi Louzada. Mm-hmm. Him coming back. Now the question is, Tate. And then that's going to determine, you know who.
Tell me, how does it determine?
Why would he not come back when the whole team is back? And Nick Cate's gone. Come on, man. I'm not even going to go there yet, but let's keep going.
Yeah, please. That's it. Thank you, Homicide. Thank you, Liam. Trying to tip you in for another 15-minute discussion about the Sydney Kings. I appreciate it. You disagree, though, Liam, I assume?
I'm not sure we're going to see Tate back, unfortunately. First team All-NBL, took the league by storm. Such an engaging personality. Love watching him play. Just trying to get that NBA deal. And the NBA season hasn't finished yet. A little bit like Scotty Hobson, where, I mean, he's very, very expensive if you want to take him off the table right now. And also, with Xavier Cooks, having him on the roster from the very start of the season and not having any certainty about what's going on with Bogue, I think you go bigger. I think you go bigger with that import spot and you get a 4-5, but a guy that's, Tate was terrific, right? I'm not going to talk about how, he's only 6'4" and whatnot, but couldn't really play the 5 as much. I don't think you want to rely on Xavier Cooks necessarily to be your 5. That can I'm talking myself around in circles, but my understanding is that he's probably not as much on their shortlist as you'd hope, and that they've got some other bigger guys that they're looking at right now.
Which, just on that, though, so much of the league changed when Andrew Bogut signed for the Sydney Kings. And as you've both pointed out in recent weeks, the centre position might not be the centre position it has been the last 3 or 4 years. So you might, while I 100% understand what you're saying, they may be able to get through it if the guy that they have on their roster, I guess, almost, Bogut, doesn't play and the whole league changes, which is it's a conundrum in itself, but I do understand what you're saying. Something we do. Anything else on the Kings? Anything else?
Ready to go.
Good. George Blagojevic has signed at the Cairns Taipans, of course. What we consider, and social media was a buzz. Cairns Taipans put it out last week, that announcement is coming. In no disrespect to George, a lot of people are like, is this the Machado news that so many are waiting for? It wasn't, but still a good get. Kid on the rise, getting better each and every time we see him. 1 year with an option. Is it team? Sorry, my apologies. Is it team or is it player option the second year?
Team option. Team option
the second year. Talk us through it. You like the idea, Liam, of which the Taipans have gone about their off-season with their local signings?
I thought Jordan Nartai was the Blagojevic replacement, to be honest, once they signed Nata, I thought, okay, fair enough. With the roster coming down from 11 to 10, it's not going to be Blagojevic because I think I would have expected them to get a third string point guard. Most teams feel like they need to have that guy. I think it speaks to the fact that they think Mojave King can handle the rock a little bit in that spot if necessary, which speaks to his talent, being able to slide right along the 1, the 2, and the 3. But look, he's 6'8", can slide between the 3 and the 4, still only 23, a developing skill set, moves really well. I mean, he's a good prospect, but it did take me a little bit by surprise because he sort of sits, back a fair bit on that depth chart on the wing there.
I'm just glad I saw him work his behind off with the minutes that he got, and he got rewarded for that. A whole nother year on his belt, a whole nother year to develop and look forward to under the Taipans and Mike Kelly and the gang. So I'm just glad to see, again, hard work being rewarded. So good on him.
Just on Scotty Machado, either you boys, I know Homicide, you occasionally touch base with him. Liam, you're the news hound here. You know what's going on. Do we expect it anytime soon?
I've been expecting it for like 5 or 6 months, to be honest. Just from my point of view, and I know things have changed in the world, I've been expecting it since you dropped on NBL Overtime that it sounds like the biggest offer Cairns have ever offered a player. So February, I think that was. And clearly, as we touched on, and no, things have changed a little bit, but that's how long everyone's been waiting for that announcement to be made official. Yeah. And look, again, I mean, we talk about the uncertainty around the current situation. I think teams are wise and players are wise to just remain patient and survey the landscape and know exactly what they're signing on for, both players and teams. Mm-hmm. And, they're in constant communication is my understanding, but, is the ink on the dotted line? Is it announced and so on and so forth? No. Hopefully it gets done.
You spoken to your man, Homicide?
Nah, still off season. Let him breathe a little bit.
Great advice. There you go. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. All right, we're going to look at the depth charts a little bit later on for Melbourne and Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. And the best way to lead in particular Southeast Melbourne and their roster, is a chat to the CEO, Tommy Greer. He's going to join us on the other side of, well, to be honest, he's playing highlights. Let's take a look back.
Back to 10. Tigers having to work a lot harder for their buckets. Anstey gets it to Tommy Greer. He loads outside the three-point line. Tommy Greer with 2 straight. Lead at 7. Big bucket by the Melbourne Tigers Jr.
Well, he was actually played his junior basketball for Knox, but that one again.
Tommy Greer feeling a little more confident with that stroke. Spoke to him before the game, and he said it was such a good feeling to have a couple of long-range bombs go down.
Alex! Great pass. What a pass. What a read by Patrick Mills.
My.
Here we go.
Hey, Freddie. Come on, Freddie.
You saw that. He was causing it. You saw that, right? Hey, you saw that.
He got time, didn't he, Steve? He just wanted to make a point, try and get that defense off him. But Tommy Greer is in the zone.
He sure is. Dorsey comes with numbers. Tommy Greer has all day. And he has done just that tonight. Every time he's had a good look, he has knocked it down.
Time to now touch base with Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, the CEO of the Phoenix, and Tommy Greer, as you join us. I've always said, to be a great CEO of any professional sporting team, you have to, of course, start a franchise, and then in your second year, you have to deal with a pandemic. So right now, you're ticking all boxes. Welcome, my man. How you tracking?
I'm tracking all right. I think by the end of this, I'm going to be ready to write a book, I think, after launching a franchise in the NBL. And then, like you said, on the back of that, going into a pandemic, there's been no downtime, I'll tell you that much.
Hey, so much going on, so much to get into as we work towards, finishing the roster as well. But you got the beard, you've got the hair going right now. Is that a quarantine thing, or is that a whole, I'm not having a shave and a haircut to the Phoenix win the championship? Which way are we going to go with this?
Well, don't blame me for that, man. You can talk to Dan Andrews about that one, but I haven't been out to get out and get a haircut. It's looking a bit rogue. I'm not sure how long I've got left with all this going on up top as well. So I thought I'll just make the most and let it grow out a bit.
All right, before I let the boys loose on you, seriously trying to straighten up a little bit here. You've just been thrown straight into this thing. Of course, last year, as we've touched on, I think was a wonderful job for a first-year franchise. But in this second year, are you still enjoying it? How are you handling what seems to be a new challenge, both within your club and the state of Victoria almost every day?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think you've got to find ways to enjoy it. Otherwise, you're not going to make it through, right? So we try and do our best, as a group and as a club, just try and find the small wins where we can and celebrate them. And there's a bit more positivity with those numbers coming down. So we're trying to focus on that and focus on, the start date for the season and getting ready for that. So, look, doing the best we can. Obviously, it's tough for everyone, but trying to stay as positive as we can.
Grizz, there may be one or two coolest CEOs around the league, but one thing we know about the Phoenix is that you guys have the coolest ownership group in the competition. Shout out to, Matt Walsh and the Matrix and a few other, Kevin Martin, but with your crew that you have, coolest ownership group in the league. I understand you had a bit of an owners meeting this morning. What came out of that?
We did. So it was actually, it was a little funny. I was texting with them last week trying to organise a time for us all to catch up and have a little bit of a chat about where everything was up to and how they can continue to help us. And Zach Randolph jumped on straight away and he's like, oh, well, let's do next Tuesday. I'll be in Carbo. And then out of nowhere, Al Harrington's like, no way, man. I'm going to be in Carbo too. And so we've got an owners meeting with all of our owners in Carbo, just living the dream while I'm here stuck in an apartment for the last 6 months.
Nice. What's their feel of things? How are they getting involved? Dante, Chill, everyone on the call?
Yep, everyone on the call. So look, they're all remaining positive and they're all really sort of bought in. They're really happy, obviously, with the first year. A lot of talk around recruitment at the moment. That's one space they can really help us, and we're also sort of talking how they can help us with a bit of engagement socially and on our platforms there as well. So we're going to really get their faces a bit more out there this year now that we've established ourselves.
Speaking of recruitment,
here we go.
As my former teammate, as my guy,
what do you got, Corey?
I got number love for you. In any way I can help, I will. On or off the record. But I got a guy I think that can, at that point guard spot, I think I got a guy for you.
Who is it?
He played in Europe.
Yep.
He had some success in Europe.
Tick.
He can shoot the ball. He can get to the rack. He's a great leader, super poised, can push the ball at any tempo, half court, full court, great in pick and rolls. You run a lot of pick and rolls, and I think he can bring the best out of the local players as well.
I like that, man. I've been waiting. I haven't heard from you in the last 6 months. Normally I get a few sort of text messages here and there about some guys you're talking to.
I got a guy. His name is Jordan Theodore. This point guard is the real deal.
He is
from
the
New
real
Jersey.
Deal. He is the real
He
deal.
is legit.
Jordan Theodore. Jordan Theodore is the real deal. There you go.
Oh!
Yep.
Oh, okay. So I don't even have to. Okay, so look, I don't even have to sell it anymore because you know the guy.
Yep. No Jordan. Yep.
Listen, Jordan's the real deal.
That's a good name. I reckon that's the best name you've ever thrown me.
Okay, fair enough. Hey, listen, look, I'm good. I'm getting better with time, basically. As long as it's going the right way.
I like that name, Corey.
I know he wants to come to Australia. That I know. He always wanted to come to Australia. So, yeah, man. A lot of guys are in my inbox these days. You know what I'm saying? And some guys, I'm like, listen, it ain't a cupcake league. And some guys, I'm like, yo, this could work. Like, you would be good in this league, So that was just a name. I know the point guard position is available. I don't know anything else, but I know that guy got game.
I like it, Corey. Let's keep talking.
Well, how does this work now? Obviously, Tommy, you already know the guy. So does Corey still get 10% if you do, in fact, sign him?
I don't want any commission.
Is it a similar deal to Liam and Kendall Stevens?
Come on, guys. We got too many topics to cover here. Let's talk about breakdown salaries.
Let's talk about the point guard position. Of course, John Robertson there last year. Are you looking to maybe have a slight tweak in game style where you might be looking at predominantly a pass first point guard, more so than John Robertson, who, of course, is just a flat-out scorer?
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, I think John was a little bit underrated in how he did sort of distribute the basketball. I think he finished third with sort of 6 or so dimes a game last year, so he's pretty good in that respect as well. But we are looking for a slight change. We want someone a bit more dynamic, a bit longer, a bit more athletic, someone who can sort of get up, play that full court defense, really sort of pester some guys on the defensive end while making the most of these, like Corey mentioned before, that Australian contingent we've brought in. Like, you know, we really want to get the most out of Cammy Glidden and Ruben Tarangi, and we're going to be looking to those guys a lot. So finding the right PG this season, it's going to be key.
For his second year of kind of putting a team together, recruiting imports, and as we spoke about before, such a different situation this year to not only last year, but anything we've people in your position have dealt with over a period of time. What is your read on the kind of global landscape in terms of recruiting talent right now?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, obviously we're going down a little bit different track to some of the other clubs. I think there's a few clubs sort of sitting with us at the moment, which is in that sort of wait and see boat. With so much unknown on the internet, in the sort of international landscape, there's a lot of talk of G League potentially not going ahead, NCAA might not go ahead, EuroLeague doesn't quite know what it's going to do, and the timing of all that, all those different leagues and situations, really all does play into one another. So sort of working out how that is going to fall really will be the key to the whole thing. A lot of the conversations we're having with sort of prominent agents in Europe and across the board is that, they're really almost astounded by the amount of high-level talent that's still sitting out there without a job at the moment, and that's probably going to remain away for the next little while. So I think that, depending on sort of where the seasons fall, there could be a massive opportunity to bring in some really big names into the league.
Right. Because part of that is you talk about guys on the NBA fringe, right? Who come in, those guys like Bryce Cotton, Lamar Patterson, Scotty Hobson, who I know you've had some conversations with, that they come in and do really well, but often they need a bit of time to see what their NBA prospects are going to look like. And like when you're over, teams are over in Vegas in July, usually have to play a bit of a waiting game, and then a player might go, actually, you know what? I'm ready.
As usual, this is what happens. He gets excited at recruiting, scouting. He boots his microphone out and go on, mate. You're nearly there. You nearly got there.
I think I got the drift of it. I got the drift of it. But it's changed. Like the whole environment's changed, and a lot of it's not settled yet. Like in a normal season, it's cookie cutter. It's template. You know that when you need to be striking, you know when you need to sort of set all your clauses for and all that type of stuff, and when stuff ticks over. But this year it's different. Nothing's set. Everything is still in the air. All of those major leagues with the players we're looking at still haven't come to any sort of firm decisions, which I think ultimately is going to play in our favour. If we can remain patient.
How much did it, obviously, Ty Wesley retirement and then the Yanni Wetzel, obviously that situation with the out clause, how much did that dramatically, in particular Ty Wesley, how much did that dramatically alter what you were looking at, who you might have been looking at? I know, as you just touched on, things are so different than normal, but did it change dramatically what you were trying to do with the roster?
Look, the Ty Wesley one, potentially more than the Yanni situation, just given Ty's skill set and what he brings. But with both of those departures comes a whole lot of opportunity, right? Yanni, whilst he was a great prospect coming out of college, wasn't probably the perfect fit for a backup four-man for us. It wasn't really his role. We're going to have to squeeze him into minutes at the 5 and find ways to make that work. It's probably a little bit more expensive than we would have spent on a regular backup position. So that's now opened up opportunity to go look at higher level imports, find a fit that works better for us, and we'll actually have a better sort of structured team for the upcoming season. So it is really just a matter of when you sign the position rather than anything else. You've just got to get the first thing to tick over first, which will lead you into your next decision. Yeah.
How excited were you guys to get Ruben Tarangi and Cam Glidden, knowing how much they have to give and how much more this season, upcoming season, is for them to show everybody that they still got it?
Oh man, I was I mean, Liam will vouch for this one. We've had talks offline. I was ecstatic about both of them. I feel like these were two of the really big sort of off-season gets in terms of local talent. Both of them have incredible ability, international experience. Ruben is already considered one of the leaders on that sort of Tall Blacks squad and has a lot to give. And Cam Glidden, I mean, he's one of the all-star Australian talents in the league for mine. Like he just requires the opportunity, and we're going to put him in all the right spots this year. And look, we're fully backing that both those guys are going to have really big years.
How are you handling the lockdown, Grizz? How's it impacting?
What does my hair tell you? It's going great. It's going great. It's going.
Can you get to practice? You've been watching Dane Pinot shoot threes. Like, what? How's it impacting?
Look, it's been tough. Obviously, I mean, all the reports sort of coming out of the two NBL clubs at the moment. The Victorian government's been great, giving us the exemption so we can keep training, but it's changed everything. Our media teams aren't even allowed in the gym. I've not visited the gym for the last, it'd be pushing 2 months since I've been in the gym. We sort of really do live and operate on Zoom and Teams and all of those video conferencing tools. So it's definitely been tough. Looking towards being able to get back in the gym at some point.
Looking towards the season now, obviously Victorian government and as you just touched on, when it comes to being able to get bigger crowds in, it seems a long way away and to be able to get crowds into any major sporting event in Victoria. But if that doesn't happen and you have to go into a hub, you have to spend a little bit of time, more time maybe on the road than normal, does that financially impact your ability to be able to get a roster, or is it going to stay the same either way? Because no fans, less revenue. Does that hurt you when putting together a playing team?
Yeah, it does. I mean, we're set up a little bit differently with a sort of international ownership group, and we've come to a bit of an understanding of where we fall in terms of that sort of spend when it comes to roster. So I don't think it's going to impact that too greatly. Like, we know where we need to sort of land on that mark, and to make sure that we're putting a team together that can contend. It doesn't, I guess. Sorry, I know that's not the answer you're after, mate. But
No, because it is, and I guess luck, and that's why when I say luck, the great amount of work you've been able to do to put together that ownership does help you in these type of situations, no doubt. So I wouldn't say luck, but it also is.
And you just get a little bit, and you get a little bit more crafty as well. Depending on on the length of the season and what that looks like, gives you other options to be able to structure a contract in a way that, maybe it's for a shorter period of time and allows you to still get that high level talent or whatever it may be. I think also the situation that Australia is in, given that we're handling the virus and pandemic so well, is a great selling point. Are we comfortable throwing out, after Liam tweeted it the other day, but, conversations with guys like McCullum, like they wouldn't have come about a year ago, but the situation with the virus and how safe Australia is presenting to the rest of the world truly is a selling point.
Speaking of selling points, Next Stars, you in the game?
We're in the game. Yep, we're absolutely in the game. We've been over the last couple of months really sort of diving down that path, trying to identify some guys, and we're getting closer. We're getting pretty close.
What did you learn? Terry Armstrong, of course, last year probably didn't work for both sides. If you speak to both sides of the parties, as well as I think a lot of people thought it might. Did you learn a great deal? Not necessarily about Terry Armstrong, but about the process and also about the best way to fit someone into a program and help them adapt to living in a new country at such a young age. Yeah,
absolutely. A lot of that last year was about sort of developing and providing, helping. Provide that training environment for a young kid to help him develop and put himself in a position to get drafted last year. Whereas this year we're looking at it differently. We're looking for a ready-to-go guy. We're looking for someone who can come in and actually contribute straight away, someone who we can play minutes and actually sort of, see him out there on the floor, across the season. So different approach this year, less about that development, more of a sort of not a finished product, but someone who's close to that point.
Homicide, give us something to finish with.
Jordan Theodore.
You got a big man?
That's a point guard.
No, have you got a big man?
You got a big man in your books? In your inbox?
Not right now. I'll text Tommy later. I'll do some more research at that 5.
You owe me a phone call anyway, Corey, man. You owe me a phone call anyway. It's been too long.
True that, Tommy.
Grizz, Creaky hooking you up with some Puma?
He needs to be. I'll tell you what. Yeah, I haven't seen any shoes yet, but yeah, I mean, he's done well there, hasn't he?
You're going to need a bigger house. That's one thing for certain.
I like my champion gear better anyway. So.
Beautifully done. Hey, Tommy, appreciate your time. It has been such a remarkable 3 or 4 months, and to be in the position you are, leading a franchise. Do we all expect bigger and better things in season 2 as we head towards NBL 21, mate? Good luck with the bid. Do not lose it. Do not lose the hair either. We want to see when NBL 21 starts. That's what we want to see. So thanks for joining us, man.
Good on you guys, and keep up the great work. Love the show.
Hey, Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, big first year in the NBL. Let's have a look at a little bit of their highlights.
Double team. Pino. 2 left. He's going to have to put it up. 1 left. Mitch Creek, put it up, Mitch. Wow! That is sensational.
In the crisis, have a look at this. You were counting it down, Dwayne, and just gets it off. And might need to give him a few more looks. It's only his second field goal attempt. He's 2 of 2 from the field for his 4 points.
How about that tough job? That defies physics.
And Kenny to inbound. Pinot with the long arms. Comes up with a steal. And the Phoenix with a chance to tie it up and send it into overtime. Robertson! Yes! John Robertson!
Well, there they are, Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, NBL 20 franchise debut. It was great to watch. They did miss the playoffs, but as I said, right there with Tommy Greer just joined us, bigger and better. And let's have a look at the depth chart as we have a look to what they need. Of course, we touched on point guard, we touched on the center, backup power forward, in our mind, at least to Mitch Creek as well. So have a look at the depth chart. Liam Santamaria, I'm going to start with you. Like point guards, what do you reckon is the main ingredient they need to chase right now?
They need a dog. They need a defensive hound. They need someone to be the head of their defense. That thing, their defense was their Achilles heel last year. This team could put points on the board, no doubt about it. But they weren't long enough. They weren't athletic enough, and they just couldn't get stops consistently enough to get over the hump. They were close in a lot of games, but fourth quarter, get down and dirty and defend, and they couldn't get that done. And I think that's the number one thing they need from the point guard position. They need length and athleticism at the center spot, but yeah, I mean, they need someone with a bit of size who can get after it defensively, play make, can put some points on the board, but a guy who can stand up and lead the way defensively, I think, at the one.
Is that your man, Homicide?
Well, whether it's my man or not, they definitely.
But I mean, he's got some dog in him.
You know what I mean? I don't talk about anybody that doesn't have a dog in them.
Okay, my apologies.
Yeah, I think that the point is you have to be able to get a leader. So down the stretch, which they've lost majority of those games were lost down the stretch, the last 4 minutes of the game. So leadership is key, along with everything else Liam said. So hopefully they'll get that right. Obviously a center and a backup for 4-man.
Did you see Tommy's eyes when you mentioned Jordan Theodore's name?
I didn't. I didn't even know that he knew Jordan Theodore. So, that's just that's good to know that he he's on the right track for sure.
Because he last season, thinking of the right guy? I think he shared the backcourt at Unix Kazan with Eric McCollum. Yeah, he was in Russia last year. Yeah. So I tweeted yesterday that they had some conversations with McCollum, who's a bit more of a scoring type of guy, whereas Theodore's a bit more of a distributor. But I think that's the kind of guy. He's maybe not as much of a big defensive guy, but I think that's definitely the kind of guy that they need.
How about when it comes to the centre position? How much do you think, Dane Pinot, of course, who was outstanding last year, and we had this conversation, of course, when they made that import change halfway through NBL 20. I was pushing for the way they ended up going because I thought Dane Pinot deserved his chance. He started this thing surprisingly so well. He had that great year, and I thought he earned the chance. But do you think it's going to? And you talk about those last 4 or 5 minutes in big games and everything that Dane does so well, scoring and being a go-to man is not one of them. That is his main skill set. Do you think sliding him in to play that backup spot and having a center who can command the ball and get it done in the low post late makes that job a little bit easier for whoever the point guard might be, or at least in late game situations?
100%. You need a guy who you can throw the ball to from time to time and, make a play off the dribble, control the paint defensively. I mean, look what Sydney did. That was Sydney's blueprint with Andrew Bogut. They had a guy who controlled the paint defensively. At times he can go down there and get you a bucket, put back and finish, but it's just more control the paint defensively, I think. I think they don't need to rely on the center to get buckets because they're going to share that by committee with their team. Scoring wasn't a problem for them. It was more defense. So I think they need to get a defensive-minded center in there.
I think the prototype for them at that spot is Cam Oliver. Right now, it's hard. Cam Olivers don't grow on trees, but a guy that is a 5'4", and you can start alongside Mitch Creek and can block shots and command. He's a presence down low, rebound, but can also step out and stretch the floor. And you feel very comfortable if you want to slide Creaky to the 3. You can slide him to the 4 alongside Pinot. It's funny. I think Scott Machado and Cam Oliver, it seems obvious to say, but those two guys are I think the prototypes for what they need in those spots.
Hashtag NBL overtime. Southeast Melbourne Phoenix fans, hit us up. Hashtag Heartland as well. Of course, we're heading to their second year, and we just spoke to Tommy Greer as well about all things Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Any last things before we get to the other Melbourne team?
Oh, man. Let's do it. I think they seem pretty – you hear him talk. They seem pretty solid on bringing in an X-star. So that could impact – he's talking about a guy that's ready to go and play minutes. That could impact the structure of the roster a little bit as well.
Just on that, I think that's how the Next Star program will go from now on in. Now, of course, when it was originally brought in, teams were using, as Tommy touched on, to develop, introduce them to the professional ranks. I think now, Didi Louzada is a perfect example of that last year. They're like, CEOs, GMs, clubs are like, you know what? We don't need a guy who's going to give us 25 a game, but we want a guy that has the possibility at certain times to be able to stand up and give us 25 points a game. It won't happen every week, but I think the Next Star and the way that which clubs are looking at it has dramatically changed in the last 6 months.
No doubt. I mean, you get a guy that's almost free on your roster. The NBL is going to pay a chunk, if not all of its salary, sits outside your
Is that the cap?
The numbers on your roster and the imports. Of course, everybody wants a Didi Louzada.
Yeah, thanks for pointing out that it's extremely obvious. Hashtag NBL overtime. Let's get to Melbourne. As we have a look at Melbourne United and their depth chart, of course, changed a fair bit in the last couple of weeks with the mutual release of Casey Prather. I'm going to start with you, Homicide. What does this team need to do? Semi-finals last year, lost in a game 3 to Sydney, had their opportunities. Tweet the starting lineup in that final series. Shaili started and did a really good job. Of course, McCarron, Golding, Sean Long won't be there. Where are you starting if you're Melbourne United, Dean Vickerman and Vince Crivelli to kickstart what they're going to do here?
Melbourne United rely heavily on that small forward position. I'm going to get Scotty Hobson.
Ooh.
That's what I'm going to get.
Mm-hmm.
At the 5, I could start Joe Luala-Chul. And I may go on and get, if not an import, I may go on and get, hopefully Pledger could be healthy. I'd re-sign Pledger.
Wow. So
that's what I'm doing.
So would you, if Scotty Hobson costs a lot, which right now he does, maybe that changes over a period of time. Would you be willing to go Hobson and just go Achul and Pledger at the 5, no import 5?
Yep.
I agree.
He's that good. They have enough of veteran leadership as locals and scoring punches with Chris Golan. Because what does everybody say? Oh, they don't play through Golan. Golan don't get enough shots. Well, there you go. Take all the shots. He got it in him. He's not old. So run it through him. Mitch McCarron can score. Go ahead. Knock yourself out. Joe Luala, cool, can hoop. Now you have more minutes to play. Go on and get that done. Sign back Pledger.
I don't mind it. The issue is, and this is what happened last year, we've touched on this.
And grab a next star at that. There you go.
Well, you're going to need someone. Mallow Trimble, when it worked, was the alpha dog. When they said, hey, you're coming off the bench, You don't have to worry about distributing. You don't have to try and find open guys. You are just hell-bent on scoring. And it changed him. I think first time he went to the bench, I think it was a Brisbane game. He had like 26 in the first half. He played really well in the playoffs. Now, I'm not suggesting that it's easy to find a point guard who's happy to come off the bench and play that role, an imported point guard, I mean. But that's going to still be their concern. If they only go the one import, bench scoring, in my mind, is still going to be an issue for them.
You got Chris Goulden. You got Chris Goulden.
But not off the bench.
Don't need him. You got Scotty Hobson.
So your second
Mitch
unit,
McCarron. Slide him to the 2.
Second unit needs some scoring punch. Now, Shea Ili would then be pushed to the bench. Where's it going to come from if they don't have that second, I guess, import, which changes their structure? What do you think, Liam?
David Barlow could score. Mm-hmm. These guys can score.
Yeah, but Barlow's not giving you – I don't think Barlow's your main guy at his stage in his career to come off the bench and go nuts. And he may start anyway. Depends on that whole Jack White situation. Liam?
I'm cool with it. I quite like it. And I think back to this, not this time, but, midway through the offseason last year and the attempted re-signing of Casper Ware,
mm-hmm.
Sydney came really strong, right over the top with the offer. And Crivelli said, well, we just can't match that because if we do, means we're only going to be able to have 2 imports.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to be able to have, 3. You think back, I don't know. I mean, if they had Casper and Shaw Long, and Casey Prather hardly played at all anyway. Stanton Kidd came in and gave them a bit, but you rewind that time, maybe you just do that anyway, and you go for that quality guy that is going to get the job done for you night in, night out at both ends of the floor. So I agree. Scotty Hobson is that good. I think he's a perfect fit in this lineup at that 3 spot. And you're right about Joe Luala-Chul. I mean, when I at the NBL NBA games this time last year, when the Melbourne United were playing against the Clippers and Sacramento, he was the guy out there that stood out to me the most as can get it done at that level. Now, it was tricky for him last year in terms of his role behind Sean Long and how many minutes he was going to play each game. But I think you're right. He's a guy that can come in and step up, play a bigger load of minutes. And if that's what it takes to get Scotty Hobson on the roster, I would do it.
So this is just so McCarron, Golding, Hobson, Barlow or White, probably Barlow, and then Achul as a starter. Mm-hmm. So your bench would be Shea Ili, Sam Short's there, Barber, of course, our Japanese player coming in, McDaniel, White, Peatling is a DP, and then Pledger. We spoke about this. I still think NBL coaches go to their bench too early in games as it is. So I'm not necessarily against your starters playing and logging bigger minutes. Now, the structure of the season may change that. If we're in a hub or we've got a shorter season or whatever it might be, we might see more games and less practice and all the rest of it. It's just the concern with their bench scoring. Like,
what happened with Cairns Taipans this season?
And they didn't win it.
Thank you very much.
They were great.
Go with 8. You don't have to play your whole bench.
I agree. I agree.
Chris could play 3 quarters and get you buckets.
Mate, I agree, but Dean
Mitch McCarron can score.
I agree.
It's just that they so stacked, they get limited opportunities because the imports take majority of the game over. And those shots, they are stacked.
So do you
think...
Look
what happened with Cairns, yo. Look at Cairns bench.
It'll be a tweaking of the distribution of the minutes between starter and bench, which, yet again, I don't disagree with. I'm saying because Dean Vickerman at different times, and you're right, they have been stacked, has gone to his bench earlier in games than what some other coaches, or it might not have been. So you think that'll tweak?
I think that because of when a team is so stacked, right? Mm-hmm. Guys' opportunities are limited.
Yep.
Because the imports is going to get theirs. Mm-hmm. You have locals that are superstars. So the chemistry and the cohesion isn't working. That's why he's going to the bench to figure it out. All right, let me sit these guys down so Goulden can get his more. Then when I sit Goulden down, he can come in and he can get his. Sometimes too much offense is bad.
Yeah.
Simplify it. Get these guys that are veterans, know how to play the game, experience. They'll work it out itself.
Agreed. I like your style. I'm not against it.
I know you're not. Just but that's just my thoughts.
No, and I like it. I think we all do agree. We all know how bloody good Scotty Hobson is. Yeah, and
Chris Goulden. Forget
Agreed.
Hudson right now. How
agreed.
many times we've seen games where Chris Goulden don't even touch the ball, and we like, yo, just run it through him. They're better when it's ran through him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so run it through him till he's tired. Then we go to the next option. Hop, do your thing. Then we go to the next option. Joe Alaku, do your thing. Then we go to the next option. Money making Mitch, handle your business. Then we go there. Barlow, step out, mismatch, hit them threes. You know what I'm saying? There's enough firepower in that unit.
Ooh. I'll tell you what, I haven't seen as much firepower in this unit. I'm talking Corey Homicide.
I like it. I like it. And
I love it.
I think when you're constructing rosters in the NBL, sometimes you can make the mistake of overvaluing depth and undervaluing star power. And the Cairns Taipans didn't make that mistake last year. Corey, it's a great analogy. And I think on the flip side, I think the Brisbane Bullets, for example, over the last few years have gone in that other direction. And they've been a good team, sure. But you want to win championships, you pour a whole bunch of money in the bag for Bryce Cotton and you get that guy back on your roster. And I think that Melbourne United are in that type of situation right now. And Scotty Hobson has a whole bunch of that star power. And yes, it would impact you in terms of your depth for sure. But you also give an opportunity for some other guys to flourish. And I think we saw that in Cairns a little bit last year as well with guys like Majuk Deng and Mirko Jeric with the opportunities that they got.
Speaking of Cairns and New Zealand, we're going to have a look at their depth chart and where they sit when it comes to the roster and what they do or do not need as we head towards NBL 21. All right, boys, any last thoughts before we wrap it all up?
Stay safe. Stay safe.
Hashtag NBL overtime to get involved. We're going to do it all again this time next week.